horizontal. They're about mankind dealing with one another. I could sum up the 10 Commandments this way. The 10 Commandments in a nutshell is that God expects two things from people. Two things. Supreme devotion to Him and sincere affection for others. That sums them all up. Supreme devotion to Him, that's the first four. Sincere affection for others, that's the rest of them. But what I want to do is show you really something very simple, and that is 3 reasons why the 10 Commandments are good. They're good for you personally, they're good for you relationally, they're good for you spiritually. That'll take up our study this morning. The Sabbath is good for you personally. Let's read in chapter 5 of Deuteronomy, beginning in verse 12. Moses tells this new generation, "Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy, as the Lord your God commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor any of your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates, that your male servant and your female servant may rest, as well as you. And remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there by a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord commanded you." I love the story. Jesus is with his disciples that are out in the grain fields. It's the Sabbath day. They're just walking along. Disciples are picking heads of grain, rubbing the things in their hands, blowing the chaff, throwing it in their mouth like chewing gum. It was permitted to do. It's called the laws of gleaning, but it was the Sabbath day. And the Bible tells us that the Pharisees, I guess they were following the disciples, sort of popped up from the grain fields and said, "Hey, what's up? Why are your disciples doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath?" Which wasn't true, but that's a whole nother Bible study. But that's the accusation. You're breaking the Sabbath. And then Jesus confronted them and he said, "Have you never read your Bibles? Have you never read how David went into the house of the Lord and got the showbread from Abiathar the priest and ate the showbread which is only lawful for the priest to eat?" The article said that the Chinese letter or pictograph for the word busy is comprised of 2 different pictographs put together, and you'll notice in the diagram the word heart and the word death or killing, as some translations put it. So that the word busy, Mang, comes from 2 words that mean heart killing. Isn't that fascinating? It's pretty fitting, right? It's like the Chinese knew if you are too busy, you're going to kill your heart. Now, I don't know how this works in like daily conversation in Chinese. Like, "How you doing?" "Oh, you know, I'm killing my heart a lot lately." But it is very appropriate in terms of meaning. Jesus came to lift your burden, not give you a burden. He said, "My yoke is easy, my burden is light." The Sabbath was made for man. It's good for you personally. Which brings up a good question. How does the human body respond to rest? How does your physiology respond to rest? Well, it turns out it responds very positively. I got on WebMD this week and looked this up, and it said when you relax, your heart rate slows, your breathing slows down, your blood pressure goes down, your digestion gets better, your muscles relax. If you have pain, you hurt less, because relaxed muscles hurt less than tense muscles. Also, your brain releases endorphins, which are natural painkillers, and your immune system works better, all from rest. Also, studies show that you become more creative when you rest. When you step away from a project, you fill up your reserves, you allow your brain to think past creative barriers that you couldn't get past when you were on the job. You find solutions to problems. According to Forbes magazine, I'll put this up, Psalm 23, right? Right? It's the most famous psalm. Unbelievers know the psalm. Believers certainly know. We usually know it by heart, right? You could say it if I were to start it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley. You know it. You know it. It doesn't say, it shows me green pastures and says, it's up to you. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Why on earth would a shepherd make a sheep lie down? Answer, to restore your soul. Now, here's a thought. I wonder if God has to force some of his sheep to lie down because they won't do it on their own. But he wants their soul to be restored, but that sheep is so achievement-oriented and goal-oriented, I got to put it on its back. Under God. That commandment and all the others got kicked out of the land for 70 years in Babylonian captivity. Then they got brought back into the land, and the guy who was the project manager for the building of the city of Jerusalem, what was his name again? And the guy who was the project manager for the building of the city of Jerusalem, what was his name again? By the way, did you know that there was a time not too long ago in our country when all the stores in this country were closed on Sunday? They were closed. They were called the Blue Laws. Retail was not allowed to be open. It wasn't like Sunday, stores are open. They were shut down. I'll say Israel, but they're open Sunday. Sunday's the first day of the week. They're closed Saturday. I'll get to that in a minute. There's one other country in the world, they're shut down on Sunday. It's a ghost town. It's the island nation of Tonga. And the reason I know this, and it's just a little FYI, is the reason it's shut down on Sunday is the king of Tonga was converted to Christ and was baptized, and I know he's the king. He can kind of do what he wants. So he did it, and to this day, that is what happens in Tonga. Now, somebody shouted out Israel. Let me just talk about Israel, since that is the subject that we're dealing with. If you go to Israel today, in modern Israel, they keep the Sabbath day. Retail stores, Jewish stores, are closed on Shabbat, the Sabbath day. There is no public transportation in the land. That is shut down. Shops and restaurants are closed. If you go on a tour to Israel and you are in a hotel on the Sabbath, you get on the elevator, and it's called on that day a Sabbath Elevator. If you've ever been on a Sabbath elevator, you know it's a long trip. Let's say you're on the 20th floor of the hotel and you just were eating breakfast down in the lobby and you got to go up 20 floors. You can't just push 20 and go up to 20. The Sabbath elevator automatically opens and closes on every floor. You can't override it. So you get in an elevator and doors shut and they open up and then close and and 20 stinking floors. And as Americans, we're trying to push the button. Come on, I just want to go to my room. I got to get my Bible. I got to go on this tour. But you can't just go. It's a long wait. And it's designed to be a long wait because it's Shabbat. And they don't care. In fact, if you are a business in Israel and you decide to stay open, you will pay to the government 50% more tax on all the profit you make on the Sabbath. Goes up that high. So they still take it fairly seriously, not like in Nehemiah's day, but it still goes on. But here's the thought. Because everybody was taking a rest, the nation, the whole nation, it's like they could take a collective sigh. Everybody's like, okay. Now we can relate to each other, not on a professional level, but a personal one. See, the Sabbath was the great leveler. Everybody has it off. Nobody is trying to get ahead of somebody else. So rest, the Shabbat, the Sabbath, was designed to make you a better person and to help you have better families, because you do it with your son and your daughter and everyone else in your family. Of an author by the name of Yuri Brofenbrenner. Yuri Brofenbrenner was a Russian-American families in two countries, Soviet Union and America. He wrote a book called The Two Worlds of Childhood. He noticed something about our country. I want to throw it up on the screen. He said, in today's world, parents find themselves at the mercy of a society which imposes pressures and priorities that allow neither time nor place for meaningful activities and relations between children and adults, which downgrade the role of parents and the functions of parenthood, and which prevent the parent from doing things he wants to do as a guide, friend, and companion to his children. You see, the Sabbath day, the day of rest, allows for intentional relating with people. Intentional relating. To give attention and affection to people around you. If everybody is doing the rest, it makes that possible. So the Sabbath is good for you personally. The Sabbath is good for you relationally. Third, and finally, we'll close on this note, the Sabbath is good for you spiritually. It's good for you spiritually. Notice something in verse 14. It says, but the seventh day is the Sabbath. Now, it says something else that I didn't read, we're about to read. God didn't say, the seventh day is just the Sabbath day. Notice what the Sabbath is called. Here's the full title. It is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. It is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. When you take